Yeah, so I Greg Jackson so while
Paul Kite's on as well. All right, guys. Glad y'all can make it on time. It's a good crowd. We got some OGs and some new guys and a couple wives. I like it. Super new guy. Almost the newest guy, Paul. We got one more new guy like just the other night. I brought name tags for everybody, but that might be just a little bit quicker just to go around and say your name instead of doing all that now because we're trying to feed you guys too and running late because of that. So I'm Matt Tanner. I do whatever she says.
I'm Terry Lyons. I'm married to John Lyons.
Alex Stanton.
Will Thompson.
John Robinson.
Jay Dunbar.
James Clary.
Chris Blow.
Matt Scully.
Reed Ant, one of the spouses.
I may be the new.
The new
guy.
Jeremy.
Jeremy Craigblade.
Okay.
Sam Alley. Scott Moon, one of the spouses.
Yep. Spencer's other dad.
Chris Tanner.
Phil Jones. Josh Gray.
Marlon Meyer.
Aaron Babinski.
Dave Clark.
John Lyons, the slow spouse.
The slow spouse.
The slowest line.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of guys that are tried to join us remote from Alabama. And I was driving in the car and talking to them, and I said to come back on in 10 minutes, and it's been 16. So we'll see if they pop in or not. But they're watching through a remote link to our presentation, and they should be able to hear me on here. So again, thank you guys all for coming. This is a big deal to take time out of your holiday time, and everybody's probably getting ready for the blizzard, and I'm surprised we didn't see you at Kroger. And really do appreciate everybody taking a little time out of their weekend to come out. We'll try to keep this pretty quick. Chris and I actually have to babysit grandkids tonight, so we're bobbing and weaving. What's zipping and what did Catherine say that day?
Zooming.
Tweaking and zooming, or what? We're going at our normal speed. Thanks to Java House for coming. Anybody work here for letting us use your place. At the top of the screen, there's a link that's really hard to type into a phone, but if you type that in right now, if you guys have questions while I'm presenting, while we're talking about what we're going to talk about, they'll pop up here. You can leave them anonymously, or you can put your name on it if you want. So if you have like ideas, like why aren't we doing a crit race this summer or whatever, like throw it in a question or a note, like an idea, and we'll have it documented that way, and then I can address it at the end when we get closer to the finish. So,
Sorry.
go back by your husband. So, first things first, I want to talk a little bit about where we're at as a club. Rollfast, we started in 2013. There's a handful of guys in the room here that were part of that first meeting. You guys probably remember when we went to F3 and we had like time to like look at the kit design, and we were all like super psyched up. From that day, we kind of said we want to do things different. We're not going to take sponsorships for our team. We're not going to be really associated with a shop. We're going to have the guys we want to ride with in the club, and we're just going to be all about riding. And as it's evolved, we've always kind of stayed on the cutting edge and tried to do the things that are up and coming. And the Fondo was one of those things. 2013, we launched the first Fondo, the only Fondo in Indiana. Really one of the only Fondos in the Midwest. And a lot of you guys were there. A lot of you guys maybe met me or learned about Rollfast through the Fondo, through riding the event. Huge undertaking. The first year we did it in like 2 months. We slapped it together. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. And we ended up with like 350 people coming out to Fort Benjamin Harrison. They were like, this is amazing. This is insane. You got to do this again. This is super cool. We lost like $30,000. I don't know. We had a beer tab that was the most expensive
Chad Berlowski is
experiment.
the reason why it was so expensive.
Chad Berlowski won, and he drank all the beer at Triton. Outside of the financial side, the Fondo, as many of you guys know, that help paint courses, volunteer at registration. I mean, I can go around the room and point. Everybody here helped pull that off. Huge undertaking. This year, round of applause for Bree Damon. She was my volunteer coordinator. Alex was her assistant. He spent many hours at my house with Bree and us looking at spreadsheets and organizing 100 and some people to do 1,000 tasks. Yes. Alabama guys. So, where was that? So, hundreds of volunteers giving up weekends on holidays. We were painting the course on Labor Day this weekend, and we did like a serious PR painting the course this year. It was super fast. It was awesome. The result was we had 7 really awesome rides. 7 years is how long we had the Fondo, and we had 7 rides that were probably the best centuries that many of us have ever ridden. Some guys back here did the 65. Some guys did the 25. But really awesome days on the bike. The downside for me for that was I didn't get to spend time with my teammates, which is why I started the whole club to begin with. I'd be running around, doing this, doing that, not sleeping, making sure, whatever's taken care of is taken care of. And Chris was doing a lot of it too. But what I wasn't doing was enjoying time on the bike with my guys and ladies that ride with our club. And so as we look at the trends and what's happening in cycling around the country, road racing and road events are really starting to tank. They canceled the Tour of California for next year. So that's a pretty good indicator. The gravel rides are like exploding. Like that's the next big thing for, I don't know, maybe the next 4 or 5 years. Maybe it stays longer. Maybe it goes away after next year after I get a bike. I don't know. We'll see. But I believe that the longevity of the Fondo and road events, as far as the commitment for time, money, investment, and the return is on the downward trend. So really, before the Fondo even came this year, we had made a decision. This is probably going to be the last one unless something really spins around and something amazing that we can't foresee happens. And it kind of played out how we expected. Great event. People loved it. Awesome time. But as we continue to try to stay on the cutting edge of what's coming up with our club, 2020 seemed like an ideal year, being kind of an iconic number, and we decided to discontinue the Fondo and refocus and relaunch the Rollfast Cycling Club. So with the relaunch, we're doing a brand update. So you might have seen some of these new colors, new concepts floating around. We've updated our cycling club logo and kind of playing off Rafa with their RCC or whatever they have. Ours is better because it has more letters. The RFCC is the Rollfast Cycling Club. Yeah, it is a 4-letter word. So with the relaunch, we really want to focus on the connections with our riders. We're developing squads that are all over the country now. The guys in Huntsville have 7 guys in their squad, which is really cool and exciting to see. My vision of wanting to be a globally recognized brand. When somebody shows up with a Rollfast, an RFCC kit, it's happened in the Dolomites. Somebody from Tucson goes, "Hey, you're with Rollfast. Matt Tanner. The Fondo. This." That's a really cool thing, I think, for all of us to be a part of. So, like I say, with the relaunch, we're really focusing on trying to connect with our riders, trying to build relationships among ourselves. And with the brand changes, we've got the new logo, new colors, new kit coming in 2020, if Hincapi ever gets it approved, and some new messaging that you'll see in a second. The one thing we did keep very consistent, obviously, is the crown. You'll see that on our logo. You'll see it hidden in our branding. The crown for me has 3 tips. It's down here on the back pocket. We kept the red pocket, kind of a tribute to the last design. The crown to me represents our club, our community, and complete health, which complete health is something that we talk about when we talk about the Rollfast Foundation. It means mental health as well as physical health. There's a few more aspects to that, but basically being a complete healthy person all the way around. So that's what the crown means, if anybody ever asks. So, like I said, with the brand update, we're changing the look, the colors. We're really focusing in on our riders, making it very rider focused. This is one of the pieces on our homepage now, just showing that we ride with squads around the country. So actually, this happens to be our Boulder squad leader, Steven Strayer. He's a real douchebag. I don't think he's on the call, so I can say that about him. But if he was here, I'd say something worse. And this is Brian Jackson. He's known as Alabama Brian, but he lives in Texas. Long story. If you want to hear about it, you can ask him. But 2 of our leaders from abroad. So our squads are now Austin, Boulder, Chicago, Huntsville, and Indianapolis. So we look to grow some more of those as it's appropriate, and some of the things we have planned for 2020, I think, might help push that forward as we explore.
Where's the other schmuck?
Where's the what?
Where's the other schmuck in that picture?
Yeah, he's a world champion.
Oh, that guy.
We have to pay him if he's actually in the picture. So.
Can you chat with this guy and see if you can see if you can get him connected. Another one of our. He's hiding up here again. It's a good thing Paul Kite's late because he got cropped out of this. Another message on our homepage is we travel everywhere. This is in regards to our 2020 World Tour, which is what we'll talk about in a few minutes. We race everything, so we have all kinds of different athletes on our team. I didn't put it in here, but racing social rides. I mean, we do a lot of work with the city of Carmel, and we'll ride at a social pace. Sometimes years ago we used to do social rides down to Fountain Square. They were quite fun. But in here we have road, crit, tri, time trial, endurance, fondos, charities, and even virtual racing. So, we're not like, if you're a triathlete, we're not trying to say that we're not the club for you. We'll take in those idiots too. Moon's a gravel guy now. It's not even a funny joke. It's not even, and basically what this is showing, we ride by example. One of the things when I started the club was I didn't make it open to the public because I really wanted to control the types of riders we had in, not by their athletic ability, but more by how they treated others on the bike and out on the road. And the example they set, my biggest pet peeve is when we come to a roundabout and 3 guys can make it, but the other 50 can't, and the 3 and then 50 go, and the cars are stopped, and then everybody's like, oh, those cyclists. Well, it appears that the audio recording from yesterday's Rollfast annual meeting was corrupted right around when we were getting ready to talk about our Huntsville squad called Rocket City. I'm going to jump back in here and record the rest of the presentation manually. Sorry for those of you guys that couldn't make it in person and that missed out on the call and now are getting to listen to my thoughts after we had our meeting. So the Huntsville squad, we're calling it Rocket City. Huntsville's a region with 7 new members for Rollfast, the RFCC. We'd like to welcome Charles, Paul, Mitch, Paul Simpson, Tom, John, and Craig Burrow. Craig was called in yesterday and got to hear some of our conversation with the end of the presentation. So you guys down at the Rocket City Squad, if you want to connect with Craig, he might have some additional insight if I forget anything as we go through these additional slides. Huntsville came to us very organically, like a lot of the squads have developed, and Mitch Danner and I connected on Facebook, and they were looking for a sub 4 option to do 100 miles in under 4 hours, and found the Rollfast Gran Fondo. It looked like a event they wanted to train for and participate in and try to achieve the sub 4 challenge. And Mitch was with us this year. A few other guys came up, and Mitch and I really kind of connected as we got to ride together a little bit. And they developed their own squad down in the Huntsville area. So we're super excited to have them on board and add another squad to the list of growing Rollfast squads around the country. As we move into our next slide about the World Tour, we would also like to add the Huntsville area to the World Tour this year. We're still trying to work out a date and figure out how that'll fit in the schedule, but stay tuned for that as we sort that one out. As Rollfast continues to evolve, we are excited to announce the 2020 RFCC World Tour. And you've probably gotten my emails and some requests for doing an RSVP and letting us know which dates you can attend and which dates you'd like to participate in as we do a tour around the United States, as well as we travel abroad to a couple of remote destinations through our partner Thompson Bike Tours. And I've traveled with them for probably 6, 7, 8 years now. Have done Tour de France trips in Spain, did a tour from the Rome Gran Fondo in Rome, Italy, all the way up to the Campanolo headquarters, where we did a tour of the Campanolo factory, which was probably my favorite trip I've ever done. Great group of people to work with, and they handle our overseas trips and will take really good care of us while we're traveling. But as we continue to evolve the brand and Rollfast, we've always been, like I said, on the forefront of innovating and doing things nobody else is doing. And as I try to make our club a tighter knit group, I couldn't think of anything better to do than to go visit all of our squads, pick some remote locations that have great weather during the winter months when it's harder to train in the U.S., and spend time on the bike, creating new friendships and building existing friendships, and focusing on our riders and the areas they live and train in, and exploring new areas together. One of the downsides of the Fondo, or one of the good parts of the Fondo, was it was kind of like a homecoming for all of our riders that are scattered around the United States. One of the downfalls of it was I was always super busy and never really got to enjoy the company of our out-of-town guys, and didn't really get to spend much time one-on-one with them, or as a close-knit group. I was hosting 500 riders from around the world. So I think with the addition of the World Tour, it'll give us a chance to do what we love doing, and spending time on the bike with friends we like is the reason that we ride. So looking forward to that. We're going to make stops in Clearwater, Florida, Tucson, Arizona, Asheville. Our first overseas trip that we have signed up for is Croatia, and that'll be again with Thompson Tours. There's a few of us that are already signed up for that. It's still available if you guys want to jump on. Austin, Texas, Boulder, Indianapolis will be the 4th of July weekend. And the guys that are in the Indy squad, if you guys are in town, we'll do a whole 4th of July weekend kind of thing. And we hope we can get some of the Huntsville guys up and maybe our Chicago guy down, and we'll see what happens. But should be a good time, 4th of July weekend. And then we also have a trip to Chicago on the books for our Chicago squad. And we've got a few additional trips in the plannings. Like I said earlier, for Huntsville, we want to get down to Rocket City to see where those guys ride, and ride with our 7 members down there and try to maybe convert some more of their friends that they ride with into RFCC members and build that squad strength a little bit more. We have a trip that we've got penciled in for Spain, which is a gravel ride, again through Thompson Tours, and it starts in Girona, and it's a trans-Spain trip, so we travel point to point on gravel bikes from Girona up to Barcelona. So very adventurous, a new kind of trip. I've never done it, so it should be fun. We'd like to get out to the DC area where we have one of our Indy Squad members stationed out there. That may be another gravel opportunity. We're trying to explore routes, dates, and finalize all that. And then in 2021, there's a few of us that have really wanted to do a gravel race in Iceland called the Rift. And if we can get some entries, we'd love to put that on the calendar for next year, for 2021, actually 2 years away. So that's the World Tour. Again, if you haven't RSVP'd for any of the dates and you want to join us, we'd love to get you to one or multiple events throughout the calendar. Scroll back through your Rollfast emails. There's links to RSVP, and I'll be sending more of those out as those dates come. But Clearwater looks to be like a really good trip coming up in January. Tucson's going to be awesome, and Asheville's going to be a great one too. So those first 3 months, we've got a lot of riding packed in, and give you something to train for. Continuing with the innovation, I've always been a huge fan of TT racing, and there's been in Indianapolis, there's been a couple of TT races that have been staples in the community for a number of years, and kind of really got me going into TT racing. And those two race series have both expired, and they're gone now, and have kind of faded off into the sunset. So I've always wanted to put on a series, but I've always wanted to do something a little different, and I didn't want to compete with the series we had going on in town and drawing riders away from their events. So now that they're gone, I figured it was the perfect time to introduce what I've coined as the TT Games. TT Games are designed to be low-key, fun, competitive. There's cash prizes. We're calling them games though, instead of a race. And the mentality is you show up on a weeknight for a training game and you gain some fitness, and it's a little bit competitive, and you have a chance to go away with some prizes at the end of the night, cash prize. We're going to start and finish at a local brewery in Westfield, Indiana, and we'll ride up to the start finish, and we'll draw the type of game we're going to play that night. There's 5 different game types that are all a little bit different and a little bit challenging, varying from a flat out TT time trial where it's you against the clock, fastest rider of the night wins the game, to another type of game where it's 2 people are randomly selected. Their combined time is their time for their team, but they don't get to race together. So it's individuals, their individual times, and whatever the complete time is their time for the night. The team with the fastest time that evening would win that game. So there's 5 different kinds of games. They're all different. It's all built in a format where the timing is kept by a Strava segment, so we don't need people to go out and time for us. The course is away from the city, so traffic should be pretty low impact. There will be open roads, so we'll have to have a couple of marshals out at a couple key areas, but hopefully a very safe experience, competitive fun, another option versus just doing the local group ride during the weeknight where you're just, crushing each other in a group ride and then it's over. This will give you kind of a different thing to train for, and we're welcoming all kinds of bikes, TT bikes, road bikes, whatever you show up on is fine. And following the game each night, we're going to meet back at the brewery and have beers and see who takes home the kitty for that night. Back in the Indy Squad locally, we've been a huge Rollfast has been a huge piece of building the culture and community, biking community in Carmel, Indiana. And this will be our 5th year working with the city of Carmel on promoting bicycle events for children and adults that are all inclusive and family focused. So it's a really cool experience to get to work with these little kids and create routes for them. And we've created bike rodeos and all kinds of stuff for them to participate in. And we enjoy working with the city of Carmel and building that infrastructure and doing all the stuff we get to do with them. It's promoted the city of Carmel to a bicycle friendly community. I think we're ranked the third mid-sized city in the United States now for bicycle friendly. So that's a cool thing. And I think that the Rollfast Cycling Club has had a big hand in getting that recognition. In 2020, we're going to lead 10 different family rides. We're looking for some volunteers. If you're in the Indy squad, we'd love to have you come out and help out. We've had a couple of guys last year that showed up at almost every event and were huge helps in setting stuff up and making sure little kids don't fall off bikes when they go through the bike rodeo and all that kind of stuff that's required to make it a fun and safe event. So if you're interested in that, shoot me an email or text, and we'll get you the dates for all of those events coming up in 2020. So you can see we've got a lot of stuff planned for 2020. And as we move into what our goals are for 2020, the primary thing that I hope you guys take away from this meeting is that we want to focus on our ridership and our members and connecting with our members and developing relationships with our members, riding bikes with them, doing things off the bike with them, and making it a really fun place to meet new people. So our first goal for 2020 is to increase membership. I think that'll happen as we go on the world tour. We show up in Tucson with a handful of guys in our kit and go out and meet new people out there. They're gonna be interested in what we're doing because, as I said before, nobody's doing what we're doing as far as taking a club on the road and touring around the United States. So we'll work on increasing membership. With that, I think will come in developing new squads. The squads that have developed over the last 5 years have been very organic, much like I want the club to grow. I want the squads to grow in numbers, but I want that to be people that are excited about being part of the RFCC. So I think with new members, we'll develop new squads. Could be in these locations like Clearwater. When I ride down there, I go down there pretty frequently with Chris. We ride with the same people. I do their group rides. You know, I show up and they know who I am. They know who Rollfast is. They know about our foundation. I think when we show up in January with a number of guys, if we go out and do some of their rides, I think they'll see a bigger picture of what Rollfast is, and we could potentially get some interest in people joining the RFCC down there. You know, we get 5 or so. We start a squad in Florida, and we've got another pin on the map. While we continue to focus on getting new members and growing our squads, I want to make sure we don't lose sight of enhancing the existing squads that we have. Circling around again to building those relationships, making sure that people that are on the squads have a voice. And that kind of leads into the next point with new initiatives and our committee at large. As you can see in this slide, we're definitely looking for coffee and pastries. And you know, that's one of the things that we might do off the bike. So as we look for new things for our existing squads to do and participate in, I'm looking for our community at large to come up with some ideas for things that they might want to see have happen in 2020 and beyond. And, you know, some of the sample ideas that I've come up with for new initiatives would be more organized club rides, more organized public rides where, you know, maybe you're not in the club and we want to open it up to, you know, just a larger group ride. Those are easy things to do. Picking some events to go to that everybody wants to meet up at. So one of them that was requested to me just recently was the Ride for Ray. I I've never done that ride, but one of our members had. He thought it would be a great one for a bunch of guys to go and do together. So some of these, charity rides would be fun things to go out and do, or maybe there are events where they're more competitive. Next year, myself and Scott Moon, we're going to go to Steamboat Gravel, and we're going to race that together. And last year, for example, Phil Jones and I and a handful, a bunch of other guys, John Lyons, Aaron Babinski, David Clark, Joe Locke, probably leaving some people out, but we all showed up and rode the Hancock Flat 50. And Phil Jones and I ended up turning it into a race and broke away at, I think, mile 9 out of 50. And our other Rollfast guys pulled the classic team moves and helped hold the peloton back and control the pace. And Phil Jones and I went solo for 41 miles and won the charity ride. So all those organized rides, if you have suggestions for those, I'd love to get those on the calendar and have our committee at large keep the calendar up to date and find some great places to go ride together. One of the other ideas I had was off bike events, and this kind of is why I picked this picture for cappuccino and a salmon kind of pastry thing. It's always fun to just go out and get beers with our guys, or grab a coffee or get dinner, or celebrating birthdays is something that we've done in the past. We'll pick a day out of the month and have a little birthday party for everybody that has a birthday in that month or the surrounding months, and just get-togethers off the bike to build these relationships with each other and get to know each other a little bit more personally. One other idea we had was doing some fundraising events, and these could be totally non-bike related. So fundraising for the Rollfast Foundation, we could possibly do like a bowling tournament or go to Topgolf. A couple other ideas have been brought to my attention since the meeting took place yesterday. Sort of like a chef auction cook-off thing Tim Malley brought up. So all those kind of ideas are welcome. Again, these new initiatives we come up with, I'd love to have our community at large take ownership of and really drive those and make these new initiative things that you guys are excited about doing, and not just things that Matt and Chris Tanner think are what we need to do. I said in the meeting yesterday, this is your club. I just came up with the idea to make a club. This is all about you guys, and I really want this to be what you want it to be. So any new initiatives you guys have, let's take them to the committee at large and give them the ideas, and let's get somebody assigned to head those ideas up, and let's run with them in 2020. One of our other goals for 2020 is to continue our impact on mental health. And for those of you that may not know about the Rollfast Foundation, it's a suicide prevention organization. We provide resources for people in need or in crisis through our action cards. We have passed out several action cards at the meeting yesterday. Basically, this is a card with a number on it. You send a text message to 494949 with the message Rollfast, and you're connected anonymously with a soul medic, which is somebody that can help counsel people through hard times. The cool thing about this technology, as I said, it's anonymous. Nobody knows you're texting in, and a lot of times that's what people need. They don't want attention from people they know. They want to remain anonymous and just want to talk to somebody. So the picture we have here was taken last year. Chris and I flew with Paul Kite to Fort Hood to speak to several soldiers, and Chris did a presentation and talked about her story and shared with them. And the other guy on the left is the chaplain for the squadron we talked to, and they have many suicides every month down at Fort Hood, and so the impact we felt there was really a huge impact. We heard a lot of stories. We opened up a text to chat line with Chris on stage, and we got a lot of anonymous questions and some really deep stuff. Some of it was so deep we couldn't share it on stage, but we replied to those people and talked to them the best we could. I mean, we're not counselors, but we've lived through suicide and seen how it impacts families, so we can identify with what some of these people are going through. So it was a moving experience, and sort of reconfirmed that we were doing the right thing with providing these cards to people so they could find support that they need. The other thing that I look at as a mental health tool is the bicycle. For me, riding the bike, I get to go out and relieve stress, clear my head, think about life. A lot of times that's on solo rides for me, but it's hard to go on a group ride and end up in a bad mood. When you're around your friends on bikes, it's just always a good day. So we talked earlier about full body health and complete health being one of the C's on our crown. And with complete health, I think, the bike is a great tool for physical fitness and mental fitness, if you will. So 2020, we definitely want to continue our efforts in, achieving the goals we set forth with, being an impact in mental health. So we're also looking for your thoughts on goals for 2020. As I've said a couple times, this is your club. I'm really good at coming up with ideas. Implementing ideas is a whole nother thing, but there's probably ideas that I haven't thought of. So if you have goals for 2020 that you'd like to see Rollfast take on, I'm all for it. Just email me or text me, and we'll put them in the queue and start a dialogue and see how we can achieve the goals that you have in your head. Yesterday at our meeting, we had a vote for the 2020 Board of Directors, President, Vice President, Secretary, and Treasurer. The nominated people were approved. And we also took vote for the committee at large. You can see the list here. All these members of the RFCC had been asked if they would like to join and become our committee at large. We still have room. If there's others that would like to join that committee, we can vote you in remotely to that list. The committee at large, again, is going to be in charge of building out the new initiatives that the team comes up with, coming up with their own initiatives that they want to see happen. And all of these people will be in sort of a leadership role as the committee at large. And then finally, yesterday we also voted in a new OG. John Robinson is now a Rollfast OG. John's been with us for, I think, a couple of years now, but in the short time he's been with us, he's been a huge impact, both on the mental health side as well as volunteering his time at numerous Bike Carmel events, even financially contributing to the Rollfast Foundation. Has been a great person for carrying the torch for our cause and just providing 100% effort in carrying our brand when he goes out, rides, races, and shows up at all kinds of events. I should give him a little kudos too. He just completed the I think it's the Natchez 444 trace trail, something or other, but it's a crazy endurance ride. And he and Steven Strader, I believe, are going to try to do it again next year. And John's a different animal when it comes to endurance racing. So if you get a chance to ride with him, if it's longer than about 5 or 6 hours, you're probably toast. That pretty much sums up what we covered yesterday in our annual meeting. And again, apologies for the technical difficulties, and we opened up to some questions and answers, and we went through those in person. And if you guys have questions as you listen to this remotely, please shoot me an email, matt@rollfastcycling.com, or you can text me at 317-281-8479. Be happy to answer questions and see what your thoughts are on what 2020 has to offer and the direction that the RFCC is going as we relaunch in 2020 with our focus on the riders, new brand, new plan, new tour, new games, all kinds of new stuff. Looking forward to riding with everybody, spending time with you guys, and hope you have a great weekend and New Year as we go through the holidays. Stay in touch.